A seemingly devoted husband, a loving pregnant wife, and a respected police captain, all bound together by lies, betrayal, and a forbidden secret. What began as a deadly affair spiraled into a horrifying chain of events, culminating in an unthinkable act of violence. This is the shocking story of manipulation, power, and murder that left a Texas town forever scarred. This story isn't just about a crime, it's a chilling exploration of power, secrets, and the devastating consequences of living a double life. How far will someone go to protect a forbidden love and their career? Before we dive into the twists and turns of this disturbing tale, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for Crime Chronicles, where we uncover the darkest truths behind real-life betrayals and tragedies. Adam Carter, 34, had always been seen as the embodiment of dedication and professionalism. A seasoned cop in a small Texas town, he was known for his unwavering commitment to his job and his role as a devoted husband. His life, on the surface, appeared to be nothing short of perfect. He had a loving wife, Emily, 30, who was pregnant with their first child. Their home, nestled in a quiet suburban neighborhood, radiated warmth and comfort. Emily, a kind-hearted woman with a radiant smile, had always been the steady anchor in Adam's life. Together, they had built what seemed like the perfect future, one that would soon include a newborn and the joy of expanding their family. The couple had earned the affection and admiration of their tight-knit community. Everything seemed flawless, but behind closed doors, Adam's life was complicated by a passionate and illicit affair with his superior, 45-year-old Captain Marcus Steele. Marcus, a powerful and respected figure in the department, had quickly become the center of Adam's forbidden desires. Though their relationship began as a seemingly harmless connection, it quickly escalated into an intense and secretive romance. At first, Adam believed the affair was nothing more than a fleeting moment of escape, a way to break free from the pressures of family life and work. But as the months passed, the connection between him and Marcus deepened. Marcus, charismatic and influential, knew how to manipulate Adam's insecurities, drawing him into a web of secrecy that Adam had no idea how to escape. The affair between Adam and Marcus began subtly, with an underlying tension neither of them fully acknowledged at first. It was during a late shift at the precinct when Adam and Marcus found themselves working more closely together. Adam, a 34-year-old cop, struggled to balance his professional responsibilities and the pressures of his growing family life. His wife, Emily, was pregnant with their first child, and Adam's desire to be the perfect husband and father weighed heavily on him. Marcus, a 45-year-old respected captain, had the kind of authority and experience that Adam looked up to. Marcus was admired by everyone in the department, his reputation as a tough but fair leader making him a powerful figure within the force. Marcus's influence over Adam started innocently enough. He would offer advice on difficult cases, share a drink after a shift, and occasionally pull Adam aside to discuss his career trajectory. What started as mentorship, however, gradually turned into something more intimate. Marcus's confident demeanor and magnetic presence slowly broke down Adam's walls, and soon, their professional relationship blurred into a forbidden affair. As the months passed, the affair became more intense. Adam, caught in a whirlwind of guilt, still tried to maintain the facade of a perfect husband. Emily, 30, adored her husband and was thrilled by their pregnancy. She had no idea about the secret life Adam was leading. Despite his feelings for Marcus, Adam was still deeply in love with Emily and looked forward to their future together. Yet, every time he found himself in Marcus's presence, the tension and chemistry between them were impossible to ignore. But the danger of their secret life was growing. Adam's guilt weighed heavily on him, especially as their relationship became more physically intimate. He knew that Marcus was hiding something. He had heard vague whispers at the station, rumors about Marcus's health, but nothing concrete. Out of curiosity, Adam asked Marcus about the rumors but he disputed it, but Adam was persistent and kept asking. Marcus, after weeks of unspoken tension, finally opened up to Adam. He revealed, with obvious hesitation, that he had been diagnosed with HIV a few years earlier. It was a secret he had kept from everyone, including his own wife. Marcus had been living with the virus, silently battling the disease, and had taken every precaution to avoid transmitting it. He had been on a strict regimen of antiretroviral therapy, ART, and medical professionals had assured him that the treatment had rendered the virus undetectable in his blood, meaning it should not be transmissible during sex. But despite Marcus's precautions, there was one detail that he had failed to disclose to Adam. Although ART significantly lowers the chance of transmission, it doesn't eliminate the risk entirely. There are rare cases where the virus can still be transmitted, especially if the patient's immune system is weakened or if the medication isn't perfectly consistent. Marcus had been following his treatment regimen, but he had missed a few doses during a stressful period at work, which led to a temporary drop in his viral suppression. It was during this time, when Marcus's viral load had spiked unknowingly, that he and Adam had been most physically intimate. Marcus had believed the treatment had made him virtually undetectable, which is why he hadn't disclosed the full extent of the risks to Adam. When Marcus admitted to Adam that his viral load had risen during this period, Adam was horrified to realize that it was during their most recent encounters that the transmission had occurred. The horrifying truth hit Adam like a freight train. He had contracted HIV from Marcus and, in turn, had unknowingly transmitted it to his pregnant wife, Emily. Adam, devastated and panic-stricken, confronted Marcus with the reality of what had happened. Marcus, guilt-ridden but still protective of his secret, tried to assure Adam that he hadn't intended for this to happen, but the damage was done. Adam had contracted the virus, and now the woman he loved, Emily, was at risk. The guilt was overwhelming. Adam's mind raced as he thought of the consequences of his actions, not just for him, but for Emily and their unborn child. How could he possibly explain this to her? How could he face her knowing he had put their future in jeopardy? The reality of his double life became too much to bear, and he spiraled into a deep sense of despair. But the problem wasn't just the health risk. Adam knew he couldn't expose Marcus. The captain had power. He could ruin Adam's career, destroy his reputation, and ensure that Adam would never see the light of day in law enforcement again. With Marcus's reputation at stake and Adam's career on the line, Adam kept the secret, hoping against hope that he could find a way to manage the fallout. But deep down, he knew it was only a matter of time before the truth came crashing down. Adam's double life was taking its toll. He had put his marriage and his family at risk, something that could never be undone. The guilt consumed him, but as the weeks went on, the tension between him, Emily, and Marcus continued to grow, with no clear way out. The tragic events that were about to unfold were set in motion by Adam's desperate attempt to protect himself and keep his secret safe. But in the end, it was a secret that could never stay hidden forever. As the weeks passed, Emily's pregnancy took an emotional toll on her, but nothing could have prepared her for the devastating news she was about to receive. At 30, Emily had always been a picture of health, and her pregnancy had been relatively smooth, with the excitement of their first child bringing a sense of joy to her and Adam. But one day, during a routine prenatal checkup, Emily received a diagnosis that would shatter her world. The doctor informed her that she had tested positive for HIV, a result that confirmed Adam's worst fear: she had unknowingly contracted the virus from him. The news was a crushing blow. The doctor explained that while Emily's condition was still manageable, the pregnancy complicated things. The transmission of HIV to her unborn child was a very real possibility, and the thought of her baby's health being at risk sent waves of panic through her. Emily's mind raced as she tried to piece together the puzzle. Adam had always been loving and attentive, a devoted husband who seemed to have everything in control. But now, everything was unraveling. Emily, overwhelmed by the weight of the diagnosis, began to notice small signs in Adam's behavior that raised her suspicions. His increasing distance, late nights at work, and unexplained absences were starting to add up. Her intuition told her something was wrong, and as she grappled with the pain of her diagnosis, she became fixated on the possibility that Adam had been hiding something from her. Her heart sank as doubts crept into her mind. She questioned whether Adam had been faithful, whether there was someone else, and if this HIV diagnosis was a consequence of a life she had never seen. The tension reached its breaking point one evening when Emily confronted Adam. Her voice was shaky but determined as she asked him point-blank if there was something he wasn't telling her. Adam tried to keep his composure, but the guilt was eating him alive. As Emily's suspicions mounted, Adam's worst nightmare came true. He couldn't lie to her any longer. With a shaking breath, Adam confessed to the affair with Marcus, the devastating truth spilling from his lips. He told Emily how he had been secretly involved with his commanding officer, Captain Marcus Steele, for months, and how he had contracted HIV from Marcus without knowing it. His affair had inadvertently endangered Emily's life and their unborn child's. The confession shattered Emily's world. The woman who had loved and trusted Adam with all her heart now felt utterly betrayed. The person she had relied on, the father of her child, had kept this dark secret from her. Emily struggled to process the enormity of it all. How could the man she had married, the man who had promised to protect and care for her, have hidden something so catastrophic from her? She couldn't comprehend how Adam could have put her and their baby at such risk for a selfish affair. But as Adam stood before her, desperately trying to apologize, another threat loomed over them. Marcus, knowing that Emily now knew the truth, began to spiral into a state of paranoia. His own reputation as a respected officer, a man in control, was at stake. The affair, the HIV transmission, everything could be exposed, and Marcus would stop at nothing to keep his secret buried. His influence over Adam, already powerful, grew even stronger in the days that followed. Marcus knew that if Emily went public with the affair, it would destroy both of their lives, Adam's career, Marcus's position as captain, and the carefully curated images they had both maintained for so long. Marcus's manipulative hold on Adam became more apparent. He warned Adam in no uncertain terms that if Emily ever went to the police or the media, the consequences would be dire. He threatened to ruin Adam's career, destroy his life, and ensure he would never work in law enforcement again. But Marcus didn't stop there. He took a more sinister approach, insisting that Adam handle the situation. "You don't want your wife to ruin you, do you?" Marcus would say, the words dripping with malice. "You have to silence her, Adam. Make her understand that she can't expose us." He knew what Marcus was capable of, and now, the pressure to do something unthinkable began to mount. As Marcus tightened his grip, Adam realized the twisted hold the captain had on him. It was no longer just about the affair, it was about survival. Emily, still reeling from the truth, tried to come to terms with what Adam had confessed. She was heartbroken, confused, and scared for the future of their child. She needed space to process, to figure out what to do next, but Adam's increasing desperation was clouding her every thought. Marcus's influence on Adam, coupled with the mounting pressure to keep the affair hidden, left them both in a dangerous situation. The emotional toll on Adam was crushing. He couldn't face Emily, couldn't bear to see the pain in her eyes as she processed the devastating truth of his betrayal. She had begged him for answers, for some form of reassurance about their baby's future, but he had nothing to give her except more lies. Emily, now terrified for her own health and the well-being of their unborn child, pleaded with Adam to make things right. She wanted to expose the affair, to take action against Marcus, and most of all, she wanted to ensure their child would have a safe, healthy future. But Adam was trapped. He knew that if Emily went to the authorities, their lives would be destroyed. Marcus's reputation and power in the police force meant that no matter what, Adam would be the one to lose. He was a mere pawn in Marcus's world, and the captain made it clear that his loyalty to their twisted bond was non-negotiable. "You'll ruin everything, Adam," Marcus had warned him in his cold, calculating voice. "You don't want to lose everything we've built, do you?" As the pressure mounted, Adam's mental state began to deteriorate. He couldn't see a way out. His career was on the line. His marriage was falling apart. The woman he once loved was now an unbearable reminder of the life he had destroyed. In his mind, there was only one way to keep his secret safe, to preserve his life as he knew it. He had to silence Emily, and he had to do it quickly before she could ruin him. The fateful night arrived. Emily, now 6 months pregnant, had been asking Adam for a serious conversation about their future. She still hoped they could work through the mess he had created. The walls were closing in on Adam. His mind raced with thoughts of Marcus's threats and the desperation he felt to protect his life. That night, Emily confronted him again. She asked him how they could move forward, how they could rebuild their family. She begged him to leave Marcus behind, to choose her and their baby over whatever twisted hold the captain had over him. Adam snapped. The weight of everything. His affair, his guilt, the HIV diagnosis, Marcus's threats, became too much for him to bear. His emotions reached a boiling point, and in that moment, something inside him broke. He grabbed a gun from the drawer, a gun he had kept hidden for years but never thought he would use. Emily's voice, filled with hope and desperation, cut through the silence, but Adam could no longer hear her. His mind was consumed with the single thought: he had to end this, for good. In a moment of overwhelming panic, Adam fired. The shot rang out in their home, and Emily collapsed to the floor, her body shaking in the final moments of her life. Adam stood frozen, his heart racing, the reality of what he had just done crashing down on him. He had killed his wife, the woman who loved him, and his unborn child. The aftermath was a blur of panic and disbelief. Adam knew he had to cover his tracks. He couldn't afford to let anyone know what had really happened, not when the police were already questioning the strange circumstances of the evening. He quickly staged the scene to look like a robbery gone wrong. He tossed a few valuables around the house, made sure the door was left ajar, and even attempted to make it seem as if an intruder had forced their way into the home. But no matter how hard he tried, the crime scene wasn't convincing. It was sloppy, and the evidence of his guilt was undeniable. Adam had used the gun from his own police-issued weapon, and the way the scene was staged raised suspicion among the responding officers. The horror of what he had done began to sink in as he realized he couldn't outrun the truth. But Marcus, ever the manipulator, urged him to stay calm, to play the grieving husband and father. Marcus promised Adam that they could cover it up, that no one would ever know the truth if they worked together. But even as Adam tried to hold his composure, the weight of his actions was too much to bear. He had taken the life of the woman he once loved, and no amount of manipulation from Marcus could change the irreversible course his life had taken. As law enforcement began to investigate, the cracks in Adam's story became more evident, and the truth about what had really happened that night would soon come to light. Detectives quickly started to piece together the inconsistencies in Adam Carter's story. His account of a botched robbery didn't align with the evidence at the scene. The gun used to kill Emily was traced back to his police-issued weapon, and the so-called robbery had been staged in a way that felt more like a cover-up than a crime of opportunity. With growing suspicion, detectives dug deeper into Adam's life, uncovering hidden messages and calls between him and Captain Marcus Steele, which eventually led them to discover the secret affair between the two men. The revelation of the affair shocked the community and raised questions about the motives behind the murder. As the investigation continued, detectives discovered that Marcus had used his influence to manipulate Adam, pressuring him to silence Emily before she exposed their relationship. Marcus's reputation as a respected officer gave him leverage over Adam, who was desperate to protect his career. Witnesses came forward, recalling Marcus's subtle threats to Adam, warning him that any betrayal would ruin his life. Adam, overcome with guilt and regret that weighed him down, finally confessed in court as he had lost the most important thing that mattered to him and had nothing to lose again, coupled with the fact that the evidence against him was incriminating. He admitted to his role in Emily's death, acknowledging Marcus's role in pushing him toward murder. Adam described how Marcus had manipulated him, making him feel cornered and trapped between his career and his personal life. "I didn't know what to do," Adam tearfully confessed. "Marcus kept telling me I had to keep quiet or lose everything. I was too weak to resist." Despite Adam's confession, Marcus maintained his innocence, repeatedly denying any involvement in the murder. He claimed that he had never intended for things to escalate and that Adam had acted on his own. But the evidence against Marcus was undeniable. Texts, phone records, and witness testimonies all pointed to his coercive influence over Adam, and the court couldn't ignore the impact he had on the tragic chain of events. The courtroom drama reached its peak when Marcus took the stand in his own defense, attempting to salvage his reputation. His cold demeanor and lack of remorse only fueled the growing perception of his guilt. The defense attempted to argue that Marcus had no direct involvement in Emily's murder, but the jury saw through his lies. After a tense deliberation, the verdicts were handed down. Adam was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Emily and their unborn child. His actions, driven by fear and manipulation, left him with no way to undo the irreversible damage. The court showed little mercy, as his role in the death of a pregnant woman was seen as an act of profound betrayal. Marcus, although not directly responsible for the murder, was convicted on charges of conspiracy and obstruction of justice. He received a 25-year sentence for his role in manipulating Adam and attempting to cover up the crime. His downfall was as swift as it was public, and his once respected career crumbled under the weight of his actions. In the devastating aftermath of the trial, the community, still reeling from the shock, struggled to comprehend the depths of the betrayal and manipulation that had led to such a senseless loss. For Adam and Marcus, there would be no escaping the consequences of their actions. This case underscores the terrifying consequences of living in the shadows, where lies, manipulation, and betrayal can unravel lives in unimaginable ways. Adam and Marcus's actions not only destroyed their own futures but left a community forever scarred by their choices. Could Adam have broken free from Marcus's control, or was he doomed from the start? What does this tragedy teach us about the dangers of secrecy and the devastating effects of manipulation? Shocked by this tale of betrayal and manipulation? Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Crime Chronicles, where the most twisted stories come to life.